So Swati, can you hear me right? Yes.
Yeah, I can.
So today we'll discuss about the remaining topics in the JDBC. The first topic here is stored procedures. How to execute these stored procedures which are in the database server. Then followed by transaction management. How to handle the transactions in the JDBC. And finally we'll discuss about the batch updates. And now we'll discuss about the type 4 driver. Okay, that's it. These are the things we're going to discuss as part of the JDBC, and there ends our JDBC syllabus also. Let's start with this stored procedures here. If you take any database server, Oracle, Sybase, MySQL, okay, DB2, okay, so all database servers supports the stored procedures. Let's take, we have a test one is a stored procedure. So procedure is nothing but one function. So it will do this business logic. If you want to perform any business logic, we can write inside the one procedure called just like a function. Okay, so I want to execute those stored procedures from the Java application. Let's assume here, so proc it is stored procedure. I want to execute the stored procedure from the Java application. So let's assume it is a Java app. Now I want to execute this one from the Java application. How can we execute the stored procedure here? So for that, there is a special statement called callable statement. Okay, so by using the callable statement, I can execute the stored procedure actually. I can execute the stored procedure. How can we achieve? How can we execute? I will explain here. So for that, I want to create the one stored procedure in the database. Okay, I will take so one or two stored procedures. Creation of that one. See. So click on login here. SQL commands. Okay. Now I want to create one stored procedure, simple stored procedure only. Create syntax. This is the create or replace procedure. Okay, I'm taking the proc. Okay, so I'm taking the like a proc 100. Okay, you can take any name here. ABC also you can take. Now as I'm taking the one variable, I can declare variables in the store procedure like this I number. Just like a class, in the class how to declare the properties, in the same way we can declare the variables here also. Then begin. So here I want to write some logic I colon equal to 44 plus 90 something, or what I can take here is so 100 plus 100. Then what is the output here? 100 plus 100 is equal to 200. 200 will be assigned to the I variable. Okay, now I want to insert this I value into some other table. Okay, so insert into, I'm taking the test 100 only, test 100 table I want to create. In that table I want to insert this value I value. Okay, the first column I'm taking the 300 directly, but second column I want to take the I value here. Okay, now that's it. And then we have to call the end test procedure 100 semicolon. Okay, so this is a way of creating the one simple procedure in the Oracle here. Okay, so but in the real time there is a separate team for creating the stored procedures. So just we have to invoke the stored procedures. Okay, so no need to create, but you should have some knowledge. That's it, some basic idea how to create and so I want to execute this one here, run. So before this I want to create one test table, test 100, create table test 100, and this test 100 table is having the two columns. So those are integers only. Column 1, that means number I can take. Column 2 also, that is also number. Okay, so execute this one first. Table got created, and compile this one. So missing here, see identifier, so must match proc 100 at line 1 here. Some any mistake here, see proc 100 I took, but here I'm closing the test 100, so this should be match here. Again, so run this one. Okay, procedure created here, compiled successfully. Normally in the database, I want to execute the store procedures. We can execute. Okay, first of all, I want to execute from the database. So here begin one PLSQL block I want to take, begin and in between I want to call the proc 100. Now just execute this one here. So statement processed. Now go and check in the database. One row will be created with the 300 is the first column value, and the next one is that 200 is the second column value. Select star from here. So what is the table name? Test 100. Run this one here. See column 1 and column 2. So 300, 200 is stored here. But what I'm doing here is I'm calling this procedure from the database, but same procedure I want to call from the Java application. Okay, how can we call this store procedure? So by using the callable statement. I'm taking the callable statement here. So removing these things not required. Okay, we have connection now. From the connection object, I want to get the callable statement. How we are getting this statement as well as a prepared statement. Connection dot, there is a method called prepare call. Here we need to provide the procedure name here. How to give the procedure name, I will explain. This is a syntax actually. Open, we have to take these curly braces like this, and there is a keyword we have to use the call, and here procedure name. What is the procedure name? Proc 100. That's it. Okay, automatically whenever this statement is executed, what will happen? So it will call the procedure 100. Now it will execute, it will give the callable statement here, CSTMD. Now whenever this statement is executed, the store procedure will not execute. So when this is executed here is, so when I'm calling the CSTMD dot, there is a method called execute. So whenever this statement is executed, okay, so the JDBC driver so send this statement to the database server, and the DB server will execute the, so this procedure one here. Okay, so this is syntax. What is syntax here? Curly braces, and a call we have to use this one only, and here procedure name here. Perfectly valid. See this one? System.out.println stored procedure executed successfully. Run as a Java application. So store procedure executed successfully. In this case, what is the output we're going to get? In the table, one more row should be inserted with the same values 300 and 200, right? Now see, select star from test. So one row got created here, 300 and 200, perfectly valid. Okay, so this is the way of taking the, so calling the store procedures. And here see, we are hard coding these values generally. Okay, so here we are hard coding these values. So instead of hard coding, I want to take the values from the Java program only. So those values I want to insert into the table here. So for that, the store procedure supports in parameter, out parameters, and in out parameters. Okay, presently I want to take the in parameter. That means those values will take from the other application. I'm taking the procedure one at one. I'm taking. Okay, so parameter 1, that is the in parameter. That's why we have to take the in. Then what is that? It is a data type. I'm taking number. It is in the same way parameter 2, that is also in parameter. In parameter means it will take the data from the outside. If I'm taking the out parameters means it will return the out parameter to the caller. Okay, that is the thing here. And in out means it will take in parameter as well as the out parameter also. It will send the out parameter. Now in, that is also number I'm taking here. Now here what I can do is, this is not required for us, number, and this I also not calculation not required, and test 100 I want to use, but here what are the values? P1 and P2, and here proc 101 I want to use this one. Okay, here I'm not hard coding any values. I'm getting the values from some other application. I want to insert those values into the test 100 here. Now create this procedure. So procedure created. Okay, now what I can do is, so here 101 I can take like this, and here I need to pass the values like so 700 comma 700. So begin end. Okay, statement processed. Select a star from test here. 700 will be inserting into the database here. Now what I can do is, I want to take the same 101 is a stored procedure, but here I need to pass the values. Okay, I'm passing the, so 800 comma 800 here. Okay, now see this one, run as Java application. Procedure executed successfully. Go and check in the database. 800 here. Okay, so this is about the in parameters actually, and you can take the out parameters also. So that is also possible, but we have to register the out parameter in order to execute that one here. Okay, so clear, Shwati and Vaishali, any doubts? Hello. Yes. So this is about the, so calling the stored procedures and all. Okay. Yes. So if you want to take the out parameter, we have to register that out parameter. Okay, that is the one we have to change, and remaining thing all are same actually. Okay, we have to remember. Coming to the next one. So transaction management here. Okay, what is the transaction management? I'll explain here. Simple. For example, I have two tables. Student table, and here we have a student address table. Student address. Okay, so here having the some information like student number, yes number, and I'm taking the student name only. Two columns I want to take here. Okay, now in the student number I'm taking the 1 or 100, and student name is equal to, okay, yes, 1 I'm taking. Okay, so corresponding, okay, the address should be there, right, for the student. So that address I am storing into the student address table here, not A to UD, the student. Okay, so for that I want to take the address number. Okay, for which student address number? I'm taking the student number here. Next one is a city, and I'm taking the state something. Now here, so address number is 1, and for the student 100. For the student 100, address number is equal to 1. City is equal to, I'm taking Hyderabad, and the state is equal to, so APR something. You can take anything. Okay, now the same way, for example, I have another student 200 and student 2, and I can take the, so address 2 and student number equal 200. Cities are different and state is different, and a student can have more than one address. Okay, I can take like this, student 2, and here I can the student number equal to same. For the same student, there may be having the more than one addresses like this, and here I am taking the, so Pune, and the state is equal to something here. You can take anything, ABC. Now what is happening here? There is a relationship here, student and student address is a relationship here. Okay, now so I want to create two tables here. Why I'm taking these two things? Very simple. So when I'm inserting the student information in the student table, at the same time I want to insert the corresponding, okay, so this information also, like addresses also. Okay, let's assume one scenario. So the insertion of student table is successfully inserted, but here it is a failed. Here it is a failed. Here it is a successful in a single statement. Then what will happen? So one record will be available in the student table, but the corresponding two records will be not available in the student table. In this is what will happen? The data inconsistency problems we are going to get here. Because so one record is inserted in the student table, but the other address records are not inserted into the student address table because of some exception. So in this case, what will happen? So the data inconsistency problems will get actually, and we'll get the maintenance problems and all. So to avoid this problem, we have to perform the transaction management. So we should commit the transaction. Okay, so whenever the data will be inserted in the two tables, then only we have to commit the transaction. Otherwise, we have to roll back the transaction. That means, so one table insertion successful and another table insertion is failed. In that case, we have to roll back the transaction. Then the first table insertion also will not happen. Okay, that you have to remember. And instead of this failure, we have success. Then we have to call the commit transaction. Here we have to use the commit here. Then only we have to commit. The two table insertion statements are perfectly inserted or valid, then only we have to commit the transaction. Otherwise, we should not commit the transaction. We have to perform the rollback here. Now see, same example I'm going to take with the Eclipse here. Now what I can do is I want to remove this one here. Three statements I want to take. Okay, one statement is for the insertion of student table, and another thing here is insertion of address table. Other two statements here. String SQL insert into student values. Directly I want to take here student 100 and name equal to student 1. Okay, next one student 2, that means student 1 only. For address I'm taking insert into stud address values. So here I want to take the two or three columns. First one is the address number, next one is the student number, and here city you can take city 1, and next one I'm taking the not required any state, and I'll just city 1 here. In the same way, I want to create one more record. So that the SQL3. So insert into the student address. So here address number 2 for the same student, but is a city 2. A student can have multiple addresses. Perfectly valid. Okay. Now there are three statements I want to execute here. So before this, I want to create the table student and student address. Okay, I'm removing this one, not required now. So if you anything there like a table student and student address, I want to drop the table, drop table. Okay, student from this one here. So table dropped. If any table with the student address, I want to drop the table also. So no table, that's it. Okay, now I want to create one table. See, create simple tables only. Create table student. What is the first one? Student ID. That is also number. You can take the primary key also, like this. Second one here is student name, S name. So that is the var_char2. Perfectly valid. In the same way, I want to create the student address, and here I'm taking the address number. That is also number. You can take the primary key and all, and SID. This should be same. And here instead of S name, I'm taking the city. Okay, now see this one. So instead of 1000, I can take 10. That is enough. Okay, now execute these two tables. student address. So two tables are created here. Okay, if you want, you can see this one. Select star from student. So no data found. In the same way, I want to take the stud address. No data here. Okay, now I want to insert the data here. Now, so I want to execute these three statements here. So how can we insert how to execute these three statements here? By using the statement or prepared statement. I have directly using the values here directly, so that I can use the statement update only. So connection dot, but in the real time you take the prepared statement. Okay, connection dot create statement. It will return the statement object for us, stmt. Now I need to call the execute update method for 3 times for these 3 statements. Statement dot execute update sql1, that means sql2 here, and sql3. Okay, perfectly valid. System.out.println here. Okay, so statements executed successfully. Okay, if there is no exception, that's not a problem. Okay, perfectly it will execute, and so it will insert into the database. Run as Java application. See this one. Still we are not handling the exception, this transaction. Go and check in the database. Okay, now this one for the student ID, so two addresses here. Okay, perfectly valid, city1 and city2. Now I want to truncate this table one more time. Truncate table student address. That means I want to delete the data from the table. Truncate table and student here. Okay, so in the end of the last this Oracle question also, what is the difference between the truncate and drop? So drop means to delete the entire table. Truncate means it will delete the data from the table. Okay, that is the thing. See this one. So table truncated here, table student also truncated. Go and check in the student here. No data found here. No data found here. Okay, now so I want to keep some exception handling code here. That means intentionally I want to keep some null pointer exception or something, or arithmetic exception. Okay, in the real time also they may be having the exceptions in between the executing the statements. Here I'm keeping the intentionally. Now what will happen in this case? So this execute update method will be executed. One row will be inserting in the student table. So due to this exception, the remaining statements will not be executed. The remaining statements will not be executed here. Okay, one row will be inserting the student table, but no records will be inserting into the student address table. If you see this one, run as Java application. We got exception, but go and check in the database. So select a star from student. We should have one row here, SID, S number. But what about the student address? So there are no records here. No data found here. See this one. So in this case, we will get this data inconsistency problem. That means so inserting in the one table and not inserting into the another table here. Okay, data issues we are going to get. So to avoid that one, we have to use the transaction management. Now I want to truncate the student. Already we recorded insert, right? That means so in this case we should roll back the transaction. We should not insert even in the single table also if any exception occurs. Now for that I have to take the try catch. Like this here, exception I'm taking here. Okay, so I will tell you one important point here. Okay, JDBC driver runs with the auto commit mode. That means so for each and every statement execution, so it will commit the transaction. For example, here this statement is executed, automatically the data will be committed, the transaction will be committed. Okay, so for example, here one statement is executed, so at that time only the transaction will be committed here. That means so we don't have any control. JDBC driver commits the these transactions. So in order to take the controller by the programmer, okay, we have to add some logic here, simple logic only. After getting the connection object, we have to set the auto commit to the false. Set auto commit false here. By default it is a true. I'm taking the false. Now, so we have a control now. We can perform the transaction management. By default it is a true. Then JDBC driver will perform the transaction management for each and every statement execution. Here we are taking the control on the transaction management by setting the auto commit false. Now, whenever explicitly calling the commit, then only that transaction will commit. Otherwise, so it will not commit the transaction. Now, so here this statement is executed here. After executing this statement successfully, then only I want to commit the transaction. So for that I want to use the connection dot commit. Okay. Otherwise, if any exception comes, I want to roll back the transaction. Connection dot roll back here. Perfectly valid. Okay. Now see. So this is the thing we have to take here. Here, if any exception comes, for example, here this statement is executed. In that case, the transaction will not commit. Okay, it will store some results into some place. Now here we are getting the exception, and due to that exception, so here we are roll back the transaction here. That means even the table in the table first table also the data will be not inserted here. And due to this rollback here. Now, so there are no exception. Statement 1 will be executed, statement 2, statement 3. Finally, we are committing the transaction. So then only we are here. Once these statements are executed successfully, then only we are committing the transaction. Okay, that data remember here. Now see this one. So system.out.println. So transaction committed successfully. Now here rollback system.out.println here. So here transaction rollback. Transaction rollback here. Okay. So this is about the thing you have to remember here. Now see this one. So for example, there is no exception. Let's assume there is an exception. Okay, here execute statement, but the data will not be inserting into the database. So here, whenever this statement is executed, then only the data will be committed to the database or inserted to the database. Here we are executing. Due to that exception, it will come to the catch block. Here we are rollback the transaction. That's why. So even the first table also the data will not be inserted. Run as Java application. See this one, rollback transaction rollback. Go and check in the database. So go and select start from table. No data. Here also no data here. Okay, perfectly valid. Now I'm commenting this one. So here execute successfully here, and it will commit the transaction. Then statements execute successfully is the output here. Run as Java application. So this one transaction committed successfully. Go and check in the database. Okay, SID and the corresponding student address table also will print here. Okay, so in this way we can perform the transaction management to the with the JDBC here. So clear, Ashwati and Vaishali. Okay, fine. So and finally we have a small topic that is a batch update. Okay, fine. Okay, now see, so this is also very important actually. So this batch update, okay, very important in the real time also. Sometimes we may require this batch update. First of all, what is mean by batch update? Okay, a group of statements is called a batch. Okay, by using this batch update feature, we can group a set of statements together and execute those statements actually. Okay, so here I'll give you one definition. See, first one, batch update. The first point here is batch updates improves the performance of the application. How improve? I'll explain. Improves the performance application here. And what is meant by batch? A group of statements is called as a batch. A group of statements called as a batch. Okay, so how can we implement this one? How can we achieve this one? So just by this batch update feature, okay, so we can group a set of statements as a batch and execute them together actually. I'll give you a small example so that you can get the things here. Now we have three statements. I want to execute this as a batch. Okay, so instead of calling these three statements here like execute update, what I can do is simple same statement here. So I want to take the one batch here, statement dot. First of all, I want to clear the batch. If any statement, so those will be removed from the batch. Now I want to add the statement to this batch. There is a method called add batch. SQL statement 1 and stmt dot add batch of statement 2. I'm adding to the batch and stmt dot add batch of SQL statement 3. Finally, what I can do is I want to execute the statement dot. There is a method called execute batch. Okay, so here finally I'm executing the as a batch. I'm not taking the individual execute update method. Internally, it will perform some batch update and it will execute the statement here. Okay, now see this one. So 101 is a student and a student 2 I'm taking, and here 101 and 102 here. So for this 101 student also there are two addresses. Let's assume. Now run as Java application. We can perform the transaction management also here in this case also. So go and check in the database, select start from student. Okay, 101 S2. The corresponding addresses will be storing into the student address table. So here 101 for the student address 1 and address 2 here, city 1, city 2. Okay, so in this way we can perform the batch updates actually. Okay, so that's it. So there ends our batch updates also. And finally here we have a simple concept, that is a types of drivers. We have a type 1 driver, type 2 driver, type 3 driver, and type 4 driver actually. Okay, now see, this type 1 driver is purely developed in the C programming. Okay, yes, we can use. Is batch update same for the prepared statement? Yes, we can use for the prepared statement also. We can take the prepared statement also. Okay, so for the prepared statement also we have a batch, so we can execute that one. Instead of create statement, you can take the prepared statement here, but you have to take the extra statements you have to take here. Okay, so there are three statements we have. Okay, so three prepared statements we have to take, and finally we have to add those statements into the batch, prepared statement, add batch and all, and finally we can execute that one. Okay, so that's also possible here, but different syntax we have to use. Okay, that is the thing. So clear, Shwati? You can practice that one. If you found any mistakes, so just to let me know, I will explain that one also. Okay, in the classroom. Now next one, see, coming to the type of drivers, we have four types of drivers we have. Type 1, so this type 1 driver, okay, so developed by the C programming, and if you want to use the type 1 driver, we have to install some client software and all. Okay, install client software because this is developed in the C programming and all. Okay, client software and all, and nowadays no one is using the type 1 driver. Okay, and type 2 driver, okay, so is developed by using the C programming with the Java code, C plus Java. And here also we have to install the client software to use the type 2 driver, and nowadays no one using the type 2 driver also. Coming to the type 3 driver here, so this is purely developed in the Java only, and so no need to add any extra software and all. But here, so this will use it in the behind the firewalls. If I'm using any firewall, then we have to use this type 3 driver here. Okay, so rarely we are use this one, but most of the cases will use the type 4 driver. So this is also developed in the Java, and so just if you want to use this type 4 driver, so just we have to add the jar file to the Java application. Simple, installing the type 4 driver into the application is adding the jar file to the Java application. So let's assume we have a JDBC 14.jar file we have. Okay, so if you want to add this type, so this is nothing but type 4 driver only. Okay, JDBC 14.jar is a type 4 driver. So if you want to add this type 4 driver, we have to add this jar file to our application. How we add it to our application? See this one, just add to the build path. That's it here, this one. Okay, right click here, go to the build path, configure build path, add external jars here, Here we have a JDBC 14.jar. Just add that one. So this is installation done here. Simple. Using type 4 driver is very simple, and no need to extra installation all not required. Okay, just add the jar file to the build path. That is enough. Then we can perform the all operations. Okay, so this is about the type 4 driver and all. Okay, so that's it here. So this is about the JDBC and all. So there ends our JDBC classes, and tomorrow we'll discuss about the servlet programming. In the servlet, we'll discuss about the first one, HTTP protocol. You should understand this protocol actually. What is the meaning of HTTP protocol and what are the things will happen. Generally, a client and server will communicate with this HTTP protocol only. Then while communicating, how the client will send the request. Okay, how the server will send the response back to the client. There is a format actually. According to this HTTP protocol, the client and the server should follow some format, request format and response format. Then only they will communicate each other. As well, they will communicate. So tomorrow we'll discuss about what is the request format and what is the response format we'll discuss. Okay, Shwati and Vaishali? Yes, okay. So tomorrow we'll discuss we'll meet at same time. So that is 7 to 8. Okay. So we'll start this solid programming tomorrow. So I will send the assignment for this JDBC. So please practice this one. Okay. Yes. Okay. So we'll meet tomorrow. Thanks, Shwati and Vaishali. Okay. Bye. Take care. Bye.